Alright guys, so it's our last morning in Pigeon Forge. Today we are packing up and heading that way, away from the mountains and to the Devil's Triangle. And then we're headed north towards home. Don't know if we'll make it home tonight. We're definitely gonna get some good riding in today. So stick with it. And with all that being said, we went ahead and packed up and got on the road. So from the hotel we headed west on 321 towards Knoxville. The ride there was kind of boring. We rode the highway most of the way. And Knoxville itself wasn't exactly the best anyway. But after we got through Knoxville, got onto a little back road and rode all the way over to Oliver Springs. Oliver Springs was the start of the Devil's Triangle on Tennessee 116 and 330, I think. So we rode out of Oliver Springs off the main road and rode north on that. And at first it was kind of boring, a lot of straight stuff, until we made this first turn here onto 330. We saw that curvy road sign that says no trucks allowed, and we knew it was going to get kind of rough. Of course, the first thing you see is a truck coming down off the hill, so I knew right away it wouldn't be too rough to begin with, but eventually it got pretty sketchy. Started off with a bunch of big sweepers like this through some farms in the lowlands, and then eventually we got up into the mountains a little more. It's like the last section of mountains after you before you get to the flat part of Tennessee. There was one building we saw that had anything to do with the triangle, that at all had anything to do with bikes. But once we got up into the mountains, we started getting to these switchback curves, these quick sweepers and switchback curves. It was kind of curvy like the Dragon, but a lot of places didn't have a guardrail, and a lot of places just had cliff off to the side. So it was a little more sketchy than the Dragon. Plus, it didn't help that there was people walking on the side of the road, and cars stopped everywhere, and gravel on one side and a cliff on the other side. But it was a fun ride. It really felt like backwoods Tennessee as compared to the mountains, though. The mountains kind of felt surreal and all natural, and then this felt like hillbilly backwoods Tennessee. It was also the only time we saw 10-mile-an-hour switchbacks, which you had to go down to first gear. You couldn't take it any higher gear because they were too tight to be taken any higher. And if you didn't respect them enough, you were just going off the road. There wasn't a whole lot of other options. Even Dad had a problem with some of them. This right here is what I'm talking about, these sharp little curves twisting up this mountain. And there you can see the cliff off the side of the road where there's not a shoulder at all. Like the white line's in the dirt, the white line's not on the road. Eventually the road opened back up into some of these big cliffs, had these big huge scenic valley views, and it was really pretty for a while. And then we got back down to the bottom. The sketchiness kind of went away. It got back into the big sweepers. The road conditions were a little bit worse though. It wasn't quite as paved quite as well. Had some gravel on the roads in some sections. People still blow grass on the road in Tennessee just like they did in North Carolina, which really bugged us. And then of course we dealt with like the problems of backwoods Tennessee, which are chickens and dogs every now and then. But it was beautiful. It followed a creek for a while. Beautiful scenery. It really made you feel like you were in the South. So here we are getting back on 116, crossing this bridge. Luckily we had a nice enough truck in front of us to let us turn, let us pass him. We followed 116 along the valley for a while, through a couple little settlement areas. I mean, it just felt like backwoods Tennessee. We kind of favored towards the middle of the road a lot. Like usually we ride staggered with Dad towards the middle and me towards the outside, or vice versa. But we both kind of favored towards the middle a lot because there was gravel and grass on the outside of the road a lot, especially in some of the curves. And we tried to avoid that a lot. Like right there you can see there's grass all over that left side of the road. But there wasn't a whole lot we could do about it besides just stay in the middle. And Dad wasn't really riding as hard as he usually does down here where all the grass was, because we didn't really know like where, if we were going to come around a curve and there was going to be good riding, or it was going to come around a curve and there was going to be grass everywhere. Eventually though we got into I think one of the state parks, and the pavement there was a little better, and of course there wasn't grass all over the road. It was a lot more scenic. There wasn't as many buildings and stuff. But I don't think we're there yet. There we are. This is the state park. I have no idea what state park it is, but as you can see, the road conditions a little better. You got a lot of these sweepers. I get a little close to Dad here, but it was okay because I didn't cross the yellow. But the road conditions are better. There's not grass all over the road. Which, granted, there's not any grass to be mowed onto the road because there's not like a shoulder with grass on it. There's a cliff, but there wasn't grass on the side of the road, so that was nice. Plus, we got back into these little quicker curves instead of the big long curves that we had in the valley floor. We are in Oliver Springs. We're not in Oliver Springs anymore, he says. We're on somewhere on 62, Tennessee 62, or State US 62, or we're somewhere near Oliver Springs. How about that? West of Oliver Springs. And we just rode the Devil's Triangle, which is like Tennessee 116 and Tennessee something else. 330. What was your thoughts on the Devil's Triangle, Dad?
Pretty wild.
This is pretty wild. As soon as we got off the bikes, he looked at me. He said, "Go ahead and thank me now, because we're never riding that again." There was grass on the road, rocks on the road, 20-mile-an-hour curves, 10-mile-an-hour curves, and it was like if you went over the white line, you were like going off a cliff. I mean, it was curvy. It was a fun time. It was just real sketchy. Dad about got bit by a dog twice. I almost hit a chicken. But it was a good time. We're gonna figure out where we're gonna go next and probably head north. So from Oliver Springs in the Triangle, we rode farther, I think farther west, and then north, and then eventually east again, up through Kentucky, well, through the rest of Tennessee, then through Kentucky, and eventually into Ohio. Unfortunately, the GoPro did die before we got back to Ohio. We started out on a nice little 2-lane that had pretty good curves, a lot of sweepers, through a lot of little towns, which I kind of like running through these small towns, because you get to see a lot of the state that you don't get to see on interstates. I mean, we rode 68 over to 27. A couple places there was a 3rd lane for like the truck lane, but a lot of it was just 2-lane highway for a while. It felt a lot like riding Beaver Pike in Jackson, which most people probably don't know what Beaver Pike is, but a lot of stuff like that. Eventually we did end up back on the highway, like the actual highway 4-lane. And I don't really care for riding that, but we did end up back on it. Hey, a little update on the bike trip. We made it home late last night. We rode about 400 and some miles yesterday. So I didn't finish out the video last night, but I'm going to go ahead and finish it out today. We rode from Tennessee up through Lexington and Paris, Kentucky, and finally finished off at the house sometime last night. The bikes are no worse for wear, really. Mine needs a new front tire. My air filter is leaking somewhere around there, which I knew was going to need a new front tire. The air filter needs cleaned anyway. And at some point in time yesterday, I think I need a new brake pad on the back too, because it stopped working. And then Dad's bike, of course, is in perfect shape, just needs a little bath. So I'm going to try to get this video uploaded, and I'll see you next time.